Right now, there are millions of dollars flowing through digital assets featuring, cartoon dogs wearing hats.
Right. Or poorly drawn frogs.
Exactly. Poorly drawn frogs, obscure political jokes. And from the outside, it really just looks like pure, chaotic internet gambling.
Oh, totally. I mean, it flares up in the morning, trends by lunch, and then completely collapses by dinner.
Yeah, but underneath all those memes, this exact chaos is secretly laying the groundwork for, well, one of the most permanent, serious digital real estate markets on the internet.
Which is pretty wild to think about.
It is. We are talking about Solana domains and how a culture built on, fleeting internet jokes might actually be the exact engine needed to build a lasting identity layer on the blockchain.
It's a huge shift in how we think about digital identity.
Brought to you by Negotiate.name, the simple way to bid on a curated collection of over 3,000 Solana domains without locking up your Solana. Browse premium.sol names, make unlimited offers, and see what you can negotiate before anyone else does.
So today's deep dive is centered around a really fascinating source text.
Yeah, it's titled Naming the Chaos, Solana Domains in Meme Coin Culture. And our mission today is to really unpack this apparent contradiction.
Because on the surface, chaos and permanent identity don't really mix, right?
Exactly. And I want to say this directly to you listening right now. Whether you're a seasoned crypto trader who, lives in the trenches, or you're just someone trying to make sense of this wild internet economy from the outside, pay close attention to this.
Definitely. Because understanding how raw viral attention converts into lasting identity, I mean, it's basically a masterclass in modern digital psychology.
So to understand that conversion from chaos to permanence, we kind of have to dismantle the mainstream narrative about what a meme coin actually is.
Right, because if you ask a traditional financial analyst, they'll just tell you it's a joke or, a speculative bubble.
Just gambling.
Exactly. But while those visual rappers, the cats, the dogs, the celebrities, while they're present, the source text makes this crucial distinction. Meme coin culture isn't fundamentally about the jokes.
Wait, really? Because it seems like it's all about the jokes.
Well, it's an attention economy. A meme coin is essentially a financial asset wrapped inside a story.
Oh, I see.
The story might be totally absurd, but the real product being traded there isn't the coin. The product being traded is human attention.
So if a community is talking about an asset, sharing it, turning it into a joke, and rallying around it, that asset becomes embedded in the culture.
Precisely. It's an attention economy on hyperdrive.
And the blockchain that has really become the engine for this is Solana, mostly because the infrastructure actually allows it, right?
Right. I mean, the network is incredibly fast, the fees are fractions of a penny, and the wallets are super easy for retail users to just set up and use.
Okay, let's unpack this because the scale is just mind-blowing. I want to look at a specific statistic from the source that really puts this into perspective.
Yeah, go for it.
So a recent academic study looked at Solana, and they found that a single launch platform, Pump Fun, accounted for up to 71.1% of all tokens minted on Solana during their study period.
Wow. That volume basically redefines the entire purpose of the network.
Right. And it gets crazier. It contributed between 40% and 67.4% of total decentralized exchange transactions.
That's massive. It proves meme coins are not just some tiny side category on Solana. They are one of the main engines of activity.
Yeah, they really are.
And when a network is driven that heavily by, communities, speed, and fast-moving culture, the basic requirements for how that network functions begin to shift.
So it's no longer just about sending money from point A to point B.
Exactly. It becomes about visibility. It's about social signaling.
I'm struggling with this part, though. If meme coins are essentially the financial version of viral TikTok videos where everyone is obsessed with a trend today, and by tomorrow it's, cringy and completely abandoned, why does the name attached to them matter so much?
It's a fair question.
Like, if the trend dies that fast, why bother building real estate on top of it?
Because names are the handles that culture grabs onto.
Yeah.
If you think about the mechanics of how information spreads in a digital environment, a meme without a name just doesn't spread.
Oh, that makes sense. It needs a label.
Right. A coin without a memorable ticker can't be easily searched or charted or even discussed in a chaotic chat room.
Yeah, especially when thousands of new tokens are launching every single hour, right?
Exactly. They're all competing for your attention. So a strong name acts as a cognitive shortcut. It makes an asset easier to remember, easier to repeat, and way easier to form a community around.
So what the meme coin market proves is that people care deeply about names. They rally around symbols.
Yep. And Solana domains step into that exact psychological need. They offer a permanent home for that obsession with naming.
Okay, so if that level of attention is the currency and people are constantly trying to track where that attention is flowing, they immediately hit a massive technical wall.
Right, because the blockchain was definitely not built for human readability.
No, not at all. It forces an entire ecosystem of traders to operate in an environment that is honestly hostile to natural human communication.
The contrast in psychology between traditional finance and this new internet economy is really stark here.
How so?
Well, in traditional finance, traders actively hide, right? They use shell companies, anonymous trusts, dark pools. They want to ensure their moves remain totally invisible.
Oh, absolutely. Secrecy is the whole point.
But in meme coin culture, the behavior flips entirely. People perform.
Yeah, they're flexing on social media, posting their entry charts, and building these really elaborate online personas. It's a highly theatrical environment.
And because of that theatricality, wallets are forced out of the shadows. The culture actually demands public verification.
So people are constantly watching the whale wallets, like the accounts holding massive amounts of capital.
Exactly. They track the big traders, they write software scripts to copy their buys, they hunt for early entries.
Basically monitoring the wallets that consistently seem to know where the attention is going next.
Right. But if you're a trader trying to build a reputation in this space, you're stuck using a raw wallet address.
Which is just a randomly generated, chopped up string of 40 characters.
It's a terrible way to build a brand.
It really is. It's like trying to build a massive global franchise, but instead of putting a recognizable name like McDonald's on the building, your storefront just has your 16-digit tax ID number printed above the door.
That's a perfect analogy.
You can't put a tax ID on a billboard or an auto-generated license plate. It's ugly, it's impossible for a human to memorize, and honestly, it's hard to trust.
And that technical friction is where the demand for transparency accidentally creates this huge demand for branding. Domains solve the tax ID problem.
Because they act as public signals.
Exactly. They're wallet labels, they're reputation anchors. The mechanism is super straightforward. Instead of a community saying, hey, watch this random string of letters and numbers, they say, watch this named wallet.
So the raw technical string gets compressed into a human-readable identity.
Right. A domain takes a cryptographic hash and turns it into a recognizable public profile.
Let me push back on the premise of the trader's motivation here, though.
Okay, sure.
If these assets are highly speculative and they really border on gambling, my first instinct as a financial actor would be to hide.
That makes sense in a traditional context.
Right. I wouldn't want my real name or even a recognizable pseudonym anywhere near this stuff. Does a speculator actually want to be known? Or do they just want to make their money in the dark and walk away?
Well, in a traditional market, hiding is definitely the logical move. But in internet-native markets, reputation translates directly into financial leverage.
Wait, how does that work?
The mechanism works like this. If you become known as the caller who consistently finds the winning tokens early, you build an audience.
Oh, I see.
And when you connect your wallet to a private Discord server or an exclusive Telegram group, the automated bouncer isn't looking at your raw address.
It's looking to see if your recognizable domain name is trying to get in.
Exactly. That recognized name brings you access to private groups, it brings you deal flow, and it allows you to negotiate better terms on early-stage projects.
Because you become a cultural anchor.
Right. But to maintain that leverage, people need to be able to recognize you across multiple platforms and on the blockchain explorer itself. You need a clean, memorable domain to tie that public resume to.
So you're basically turning your transaction history into a verifiable track record, and the domain is just the header on that resume.
That's exactly it.
Which brings up how these digital names are actually valued and acquired by the market. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the valuation side is fascinating.
If we're looking at the buyers of these domains, we have to look at the psychological traits of the culture they come from. And the defining trait of the meme coin trader is an absolute obsession with being early.
Oh, 100%. They want to be early to the coin, early to the chart, early to the narrative.
Early to the joke before it hits the mainstream.
Exactly. And according to the sources, that exact same mindset translates directly over to how they view Solana domains.
So they aren't looking at a domain and asking what it's currently being used for today.
No, they're looking at it and asking what it could become tomorrow.
Like, could this specific word become a primary payment name?
Right. Or could it be the identity for an AI trading agent? Or the treasury address for a massive online community? They're buying future potential based on cultural trends.
Which makes sense because crypto natives are already entirely comfortable with the concept of digital scarcity.
Very much so.
Like, try explaining to someone completely outside the internet economy why a digital file or a digital name is worth thousands of dollars, and they struggle with it.
Yeah, they just see it as letters on a screen.
Exactly. But the meme coin trader already lives in a world where attention equals value. They know that owning the right digital asset early, whether it's a three-letter ticker or a clean domain name, is highly meaningful.
It functions as a status symbol. Owning a clean, short first name or a highly relevant category name sends a very specific signal to everyone else in the ecosystem.
It says, I was here first.
Right. It says, I saw the value of this network before the crowd did. It's a structural flex in a culture that revolves around proving you were ahead of the curve.
The source text makes a really fascinating point regarding how this culture actually generates value, too.
Oh, the language part.
Yes, it argues that meme culture isn't just about trading assets. It's actually a high-speed language creation factory.
It really is. It's constantly churning out new slang, new catchphrases, new internet characters.
And many of those words disappear in a week, but some of them become sticky.
Right, they become a permanent part of the internet lexicon.
And Solana domains are uniquely positioned to capture that newly invented cultural language.
Because you're registering the very language that a new economy is using to communicate. It's a real-time capture of linguistic evolution.
But aren't these buyers basically just throwing darts at a board?
What do you mean?
Well, to me, it sounds exactly like the speculators in the 1990s dot-com boom.
Ah, right.
The guys who just bought up random dictionary words like, pets.com or cars.com and crossed their fingers hoping one of them would hit the jackpot. Isn't this domain speculation just the 2026 version of that exact same guessing game?
There is a historical parallel, definitely, but the mechanics are fundamentally different here.
How so?
Because it's not just about grabbing static dictionary words anymore. Like you noted, it's about identifying newly birthed cultural slang.
Right.
The people buying these domains are the same people who are deeply embedded in the culture that's creating the language. The mechanism is organic.
So, like, a new token launches, a specific typo or inside joke forms in the community chat, and then it becomes the rally cry for thousands of people.
Exactly. And someone inside that community registers that slang as a domain.
Oh, I get it. They aren't guessing blindly from the outside by reading a dictionary.
No, they're bottling a cultural moment they are actively participating in.
They're trained to hunt for early opportunities and spot narratives before they crest.
Right, which makes them the perfect demographic to execute on domain speculation. They understand that a newly coined term isn't just a funny word. It's an identity waiting to be claimed by a community.
It's the difference between insider knowledge and outsider guessing. That nuance makes a lot of sense.
But this raises an important question, right?
Yeah.
We have to address the underlying risk profile of this entire ecosystem.
Yeah, we really do. Because we've established the hype, the massive flow of attention, the psychology of being early. But hype is, by definition, fleeting.
Exactly.
The core question is how these domains actually survive when the fast-moving meme coins they're adjacent to inevitably crash.
And the source text heavily outlines this as the primary risk. Meme culture is incredibly unstable.
It's fast, it can be reckless, and it's often highly manipulative.
Right. There's a very real danger of confusing pure noise with an actual durable opportunity.
People might just buy terrible names, right?
Exactly. Domains based on a highly specific joke that is funny for exactly 3 days and then is utterly useless forever. They mistake a short-term, manufactured spike in attention for long-term organic demand.
So to navigate that risk, a domain investor really needs a refined sense of taste.
They do. They need the ability to distinguish between a temporary flash in the pan and a cultural moment that has actual staying power.
Because the structural strength of Solana domains is that they operate on a completely different timeline than meme coins.
They're way slower. They do not need a massive vertical green candle on a price chart to pump in the next hour.
They don't require a chaotic chat room screaming every 5 seconds to maintain their existence.
Right. They are slow assets living inside a fast environment. They can be held quietly, they can be displayed on a profile, negotiated over months, and built around as infrastructure.
So the domains that survive the inevitable crashes are the ones that possess utility beyond the initial joke.
Exactly. They're easy to say aloud, they're easy to spell without confusion, and they're instantly recognizable.
They take the technical ugliness of cryptographic hashes and compress them into human infrastructure. The source text frames it perfectly. It says, a meme coin needs a ticker, but a wallet needs a name.
That's a great way to put it.
Let me play devil's advocate on the utility argument for a second, though.
Sure, let's hear it.
Let's say a massive meme coin community forms. They buy a premium domain for their shared treasury, everyone in the group uses the slang, and it becomes a genuine movement.
Okay.
But then the token's founders vanish. The token reg pulls, the liquidity is drained, and the price of the coin drops to zero.
It happens all the time.
Right. So does the domain attached to that specific community not become completely, totally worthless overnight, seeing as the community it served just evaporated?
Well, if the domain's entire value was strictly dependent on that one specific hyper-niche token, yeah, the value would be destroyed.
Okay.
But a strong, multi-layered domain retains value precisely because its utility is separated from the token's price action. Let's say the domain is a widely recognized piece of internet slang, or, a clean, broad category name that the community adopted.
Right.
Even if the original group that popularized it dissolves, the domain itself remains highly functional infrastructure. The mechanism of its value hasn't changed.
Oh, I see. It can still be used as a readable payment handle for a completely different project.
Exactly. Or it can be used as the routing identity for an AI trading agent. It acts as a durable digital asset that a trader can hold securely in their wallet through a multi-year bear market, just waiting for the right buyer to come along.
So the speculative token might go to absolute zero, but the scarce, functional digital identity remains completely intact.
Yep. It acts as the serious identity layer underneath the chaotic joke.
The joke just serves as the marketing engine to get the attention in the door.
Right, but the actual utility of the domain locks the value in place. It absorbs the energy and the capital of the attention economy, but without taking on the exact same risk profile of a token that can be manipulated and crashed in a matter of hours.
It basically sits at the exact intersection of utility and culture.
It really does. And as we observe the few meme coin projects that actually survive their initial hype cycles and mature into real brands or media properties, their technical needs shift.
Because they have to grow up, essentially.
Exactly. The first thing they require is clean identity infrastructure. They need official public wallets that their users can actually trust.
And they need recognizable landing points for their decentralized applications.
Right. The domains provide the exact infrastructure required to transition from a chaotic internet joke into a functional digital organization.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, so let's synthesize exactly what this transition means.
Good.
The mainstream world looks at meme coin culture and sees nothing but pure, unadulterated gambling. But if you look at the underlying mechanics, it's actually a chaotic, high-speed naming machine.
That's a perfect summary.
It generates unbelievable amounts of human attention. It forces traders and wallets out of the shadows and into the public square. And by doing so, it forces an entire ecosystem to place a massive premium on recognizable identity.
And Solana domains do not sit separate from this chaos. They provide the architecture for it.
Exactly. They capture that fleeting viral attention and crystallize it into lasting, readable digital real estate.
Because it ultimately comes down to compressing the technical complexity of the blockchain into something that human beings can actually relate to, interact with, and trust on a daily basis.
Right. And I want to leave you, listening right now, with a final concept to mull over that really builds on everything we've unpacked today.
It is a fun one to think about.
Yeah. Throughout the source text, there were these brief mentions of AI agents needing names, and we just spent time detailing how human traders build on-chain reputations. But project this out 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
What happens when the blockchain infrastructure becomes so advanced that AI algorithms themselves are tasked with deciding which human wallets to trust?
Wow.
Imagine a scenario where an AI protocol decides whether or not to execute a smart contract with your wallet or, grant you access to a decentralized lending pool based entirely on the historical, verifiable reputation that is permanently anchored to your specific Solana domain name.
So the domain basically transitions from a human-readable convenience to a machine-readable requirement.
Exactly. Suddenly, a domain isn't just a fun cultural badge you use to flex on social media. It becomes your algorithmic passport to the future internet.
That's huge.
It really is. It serves as the permanent, verifiable anchor in a sea of incredibly fast-moving data. So the next time you see some chaotic, absurd internet trend blowing up your feed, don't just roll your eyes at the joke.
No, look a little closer at the mechanics.
Look at the names behind the chaos, because while the joke itself might be entirely forgotten by tomorrow, the digital real estate being built underneath it just might last forever.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.